What happens when the most unpredictable man in American politics walks straight into a studio built to mock him? The lights were bright, the cameras were rolling, and millions were watching live, expecting entertainment. But nobody realized they were about to witness something far more explosive. Donald Trump didn't come to play nice. He came to settle scores, and Jimmy Kimmel, never one to back down, saw an opportunity to make national TV history. The moment Trump stepped onto that stage, the air changed. The crowd didn't just cheer, they split in two. Half applauded, half booed, and every sound in that room carried years of political tension. Trump smiled, that tight, familiar grin that says he's ready for a fight. Jimmy Kimmel greeted him with a handshake that felt more like a challenge than a welcome. What happened next wasn't comedy, it wasn't politics. It was a clash of two worlds, one built on outrage, the other on irony, and neither man was about to lose. But before the audience even realized what was happening, the first sparks had already started to fly. As the applause settled, Jimmy Kimmel leaned back in his chair, that signature grin never leaving his face. The crowd was buzzing, unsure whether to laugh or brace for impact. Trump adjusted his tie, scanned the audience, and gave a small nod, the kind that says, "I own this room." Except this time, the room wasn't entirely his. Kimmel began with light jokes, poking fun at Trump's latest rally, calling it a half concert, half courtroom appearance. The audience laughed, but it was a nervous laugh, the kind that fills the silence when something dangerous might be brewing. Trump chuckled too, but his eyes didn't. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, that familiar tone creeping into his voice. "Jimmy, it's funny. Every time I come here, your ratings go up. You should thank me." The crowd erupted, half cheering, half booing. Kimmel smirked, pretending to take notes on his card. "You're right," he said. "Controversy does pay the bills." For a brief moment, it almost felt playful, two showmen sparring for the spotlight. But there was a current beneath their words, an unspoken tension that neither wanted to acknowledge. Kimmel knew one wrong question could ignite fireworks. Trump knew one clever insult could turn the crowd in his favor. And so both of them danced around it, smiling, laughing, pretending the next few minutes weren't about to blow up into something the internet would replay for weeks. The energy in the studio shifted. The laughter grew thinner. Every camera zoomed in a little closer, waiting for that first real hit. Trump straightened up, his expression hardening just slightly. Kimmel glanced at his next card, this one with heavier ink, and that's when the real conversation began, the kind that doesn't just test patience, but pride. The storm was coming. Kimmel glanced down at his card again, pretending it was just another question, but the shift in tone was unmistakable. He leaned in slightly, voice steady but teasing. "You've said many times the economy was the best in history under your leadership, but most economists disagree. Are they all wrong, or are you?" The audience reacted instantly, a mix of laughs, gasps, and murmurs. Trump's eyes narrowed, that trademark half-smile returning. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, that familiar tone creeping into his voice. "Jimmy, I know you're trying to be clever, but the truth is simple. When I was in office, Americans had jobs, energy was cheap, and we weren't begging other countries for oil. That's not politics. That's results." A few claps broke out from the audience, and that only fueled him more. Kimmel raised an eyebrow, flipping through his cards dramatically. Sure, but inflation, deficits, tariffs. Do those ring a bell?" Trump waved him off. "You're reading fake numbers again, Jimmy. The real economy isn't on a chart, it's in people's wallets. And right now, they're hurting worse than ever. So maybe ask Biden about his numbers." The crowd reacted again, louder this time, half the room applauding, half booing. The sound filled every corner of the studio. Kimmel leaned back, smiling like a man who knew exactly where this was headed. "So you're saying everyone else, economists, analysts, the data, they're all lying?" Trump didn't blink. "I'm saying I did it better. Everyone knows it. Even the people who hate me." The line hit like a punch. Even Kimmel paused, caught between laughter and disbelief. He looked out at the audience, then back at Trump. "You really don't doubt yourself, do you?" Trump smiled wider. "Confidence builds countries. Doubt destroys them." A murmur ran through the audience, a mix of awe and disbelief. It wasn't a late-night show anymore. It was a debate in disguise. And both men knew it. Kimmel shuffled his cards again, slower this time, realizing the man across from him wasn't here to play. Trump leaned back, calm but calculating. And then, with a sly grin, he added, "You know, this is why people watch me, Jimmy. I tell the truth, even when it makes people like you uncomfortable." Gasps, laughter, applause. That was the moment the spark turned into fire. Kimmel took a breath, leaned forward, and locked eyes with Trump. The room was still echoing from the last exchange, but he wasn't backing off. He flipped to another card, this one with heavier ink. "Let's talk about foreign policy," Kimmel began. "Some say your America First agenda made America alone. Do you think isolating allies made us stronger?" The question landed like a jab. Trump tilted his head, as if deciding whether to laugh or strike back. Finally, he leaned in. "Jimmy, when I was president, nobody messed with us. Not Russia, not China, not Iran. They respected us because I put America first, not last." The crowd rumbled, a mix of applause and groans. Kimmel seized the moment. "Respect or fear? Because there's a difference," he said, eyes narrowing. Trump didn't blink. "Both work," he shot back. The audience gasped, a ripple of shock, followed by laughter and applause. Kimmel tried to push further. "But alienating our allies, NATO, the UN, our trade partners, that didn't help America, did it?" Trump smirked. "Jimmy, you ever notice how every country suddenly started paying what they owed when I was in charge? That's not alienation, that's leadership." The delivery was sharp, almost theatrical. The crowd roared again, divided down the middle. Cheers from one side, boos from the other. It wasn't just a talk show anymore. It was a rally disguised as late-night TV. And Kimmel, sensing he was losing the room, tried to pivot. "Leadership," he said. "Some called it bullying." Trump laughed, almost amused. "They called it bullying because I didn't apologize for being American. I fought for our borders, our jobs, our dignity. You call it arrogance? I call it pride." The statement hit hard. Even Kimmel paused, realizing he had walked right into the heart of Trump's message. And Trump knew that too. He turned slightly toward the camera, that familiar showman instinct kicking in, and he knew, "Jimmy, people forget something. When I said America first, I didn't mean America only. I meant America shouldn't come last. And right now, it is." The audience fell silent for a beat. Then came the noise, applause, boos, shouts, the kind of chaos Trump feeds on. And Kimmel shook his head, a hint of disbelief in his smile. "You make it sound heroic." Trump leaned back, eyes gleaming. "It was, until the media decided to make it a crime to love your own country." The audience erupted again, some clapping, others shouting. It was no longer a talk show. It was theater. It was politics. It was raw. And just when Kimmel thought he could steer it back, Trump leaned forward one more time and said softly, "You want to talk about real chaos? Jimmy, let's talk about January 6th. The laughter died instantly. The air thickened. And the crowd, suddenly silent, knew they were about to watch history repeat itself in real time. The air in the studio shifted. It wasn't laughter anymore. It was tension. Trump's last words hung in the air like a challenge, and everyone knew what was coming next. Kimmel hesitated, glanced at his notes, then looked straight at Trump. "All right," he said quietly. "Let's talk about it. January 6th, the day your supporters stormed the Capitol. Do you take any responsibility?" The crowd buzzed, half gasping, half cheering. Trump didn't flinch. He folded his arms, leaned back, and gave that small, knowing smile. "Jimmy, you sound like CNN. You know what really happened that day? People were angry. They felt cheated. Millions believed the election was stolen, and instead of listening, the media laughed at them." Kimmel leaned in. "They didn't just protest, Mr. President. They broke windows, they attacked police officers." Trump cut him off, voice rising just enough to command the room. "And I told them to be peaceful. Read the transcript. I said, go home in peace. But you won't hear that on your show, will you?" The audience split like a live wire, one half cheering, the other booing. Kimmel tried to speak again, but Trump had turned the interview into a political battleground. "So you're saying you had nothing to do with it?" Kimmel pressed. Trump leaned forward. "I'm saying I told people to protest peacefully. The violence, I never wanted that. But let me ask you something, Jimmy. When cities were burning in 2020, did anyone ask Biden to apologize?" The crowd gasped again. He had flipped the script completely. The tension was electric. Even Kimmel looked rattled now, his comedic rhythm gone. Trump continued, voice steady but sharp. "The problem isn't what happened that day. The problem is how it's been used to silence anyone who dares to question power. They're not after me, Jimmy. They're after you. I'm just in the way." For a moment, there was silence. Even those who didn't agree with him seemed frozen, drawn in by the force of his delivery. Then, applause. Not from everyone, but enough to shift the energy. Trump leaned back, calm again, as if nothing had happened. Kimmel finally exhaled. "You always know how to stir things up, don't you?" Trump smiled faintly. "That's what happens when you tell the truth in a room full of cameras." The audience murmured, and the lights seemed to dim just a little bit, the kind of silence that means everyone's processing what they just witnessed. And yet, as Trump's words echoed, one thing was clear. This wasn't just another interview. It was a political explosion, one that would dominate headlines, social feeds, and late-night arguments for days to come. By the next morning, the clip was everywhere. You couldn't scroll 5 seconds without seeing it. Trump versus Kimmel, face-to-face, turning late-night comedy into political warfare. Cable networks replayed it on loop. CNN called it a dangerous platform for misinformation. Fox News called it Trump's media masterclass. And everyone else? They just couldn't look away. Twitter, or X as it's now called, exploded. Hashtag Trump on Kimmel hit the top of the trending list, fueled by millions of fiery comments. One side was cheering, he destroyed Kimmel on live TV. The other side raged, how can anyone still defend this man? Even Kimmel's own fans were split. Some praised him for holding Trump accountable, while others accused him of handing Trump a spotlight. Every major outlet jumped on the story. The Guardian, Politico, even late-night rivals like Colbert and Fallon couldn't resist taking shots. And in the middle of the chaos, Trump posted on Truth Social. His message was short, but it hit hard. Kimmel tried to play tough. Didn't end well for him. The ratings tell the story. People want the truth, not the jokes. Within hours, that post had been screenshotted, memed, and shared across every platform. Even people who hadn't seen the show suddenly wanted to know what happened. Clips were re-edited, remixed, turned into TikToks and YouTube shorts. One viral edit played dramatic music under Trump's line, "They're not after me, they're after you, I'm just in the way." That soundbite alone clocked over 10 million views in a single day. The media frenzy didn't just feed Trump's momentum, it revived it. Supporters called it his 2025 comeback moment. Critics said it proved he's still the master of chaos. And through it all, Kimmel's team stayed silent. No tweets, no interviews, no follow-ups. But the damage, or maybe the brilliance, was already done. A late-night comedy slot had turned into the most talked-about political showdown of the week. For Trump, it was more than an argument. It was a reminder. Even without the White House, he could still dominate the headlines, the conversations, and the culture. And as the dust began to settle, one question lingered across every feed, every newsroom, every dinner table conversation. Was this a meltdown or a master move? While the media scrambled to pick apart every second of the Kimmel clash, Trump was already moving to the next stage, his favorite place, offense. He didn't apologize, he didn't backtrack. Instead, he doubled down. Within 24 hours, his campaign team turned the entire exchange into a weapon. Clips from the interview appeared in new online ads, each one highlighting his fiery comebacks and defiant tone. The message was clear. They mock him because they fear him. At his next rally in Ohio, Trump walked onto the stage to thunderous cheers. The crowd wasn't chanting about polls or indictments. They were chanting "Kimmel, Kimmel," as if the late-night host had become his latest political opponent. Trump smirked, leaned into the mic, and said, "Poor Jimmy, he thought he could take on Trump and win. I don't think ABC's ratings will recover anytime soon." The crowd roared, phones shot up, the moment went viral again. Trump had turned what should have been a PR nightmare into pure momentum. But this wasn't random bravado, it was calculated. Every post, every quote, every soundbite fit perfectly into his 2025 strategy: portray himself as the outsider under attack by the Hollywood elite and the fake news machine. The Kimmel incident wasn't damage, it was fuel. Political analysts noticed. Even those who couldn't stand him admitted it. Trump knew exactly how to spin outrage into energy. While cable anchors debated his temperament, his base saw something else entirely: a fighter refusing to back down in the face of media mockery. On Truth Social, Trump wrote, "They'll never understand. Every time they come after me, the movement only grows stronger." And he wasn't wrong. Rally attendance spiked, fundraising surged. Within days, conservative commentators were calling it the Kimmel effect. Kimmel may have wanted laughs, but Trump walked away with power. The whole thing felt almost cinematic. One man turning humiliation into dominance, backlash into branding, outrage into opportunity. And by the time mainstream networks realized it, it was already too late. Trump had once again done what he does best: take control of the chaos, make himself the center of the story, and remind everyone that in the world of politics and media, he's still the one calling the shots. By the end of the week, it wasn't just a viral clip anymore. It was a cultural moment. The Trump-Kimmel standoff had been replayed, remixed, analyzed, and argued about across every platform imaginable. But beneath the noise, something deeper had shifted. This wasn't just about a late-night argument. It was a snapshot of America itself, divided, loud, and completely captivated by the same man who's been rewriting political playbooks for nearly a decade. For Trump, the clash became another notch in his long list of "they tried to embarrass me, but I came out stronger" moments. Every insult turned into proof of persecution. Every headline became a rallying cry, and every critic unintentionally fueled his message. Inside his campaign, staffers reportedly called it a gift from late night. One strategist even joked, "We couldn't have written better PR if we tried." Because, once again, Trump wasn't chasing the spotlight. He was commanding it. Meanwhile, Kimmel kept his distance. A few quiet jokes on the next episode, a subtle eye roll, but nothing more. He knew it. Everyone knew it. This one had gotten away from him. News outlets moved on, but the internet didn't. Clips from the confrontation still circulate, used in political edits, memes, and fan videos that keep racking up views. Every time someone replays that line, "They're not after me, they're after you, I'm just in the way," it reignites the same old fire: loyalty, outrage, debate. That's the strange thing about Trump. Whether you love him or hate him, you watch. He knows how to make you feel something: anger, amusement, disbelief, but never indifference. And maybe that's the real legacy of the clash. Not who won the argument, not who looked better on camera, but the reminder that in today's America, politics isn't just a fight for power, it's a fight for attention. As the lights fade and the noise settles, one thing remains certain: Donald Trump didn't just dominate another interview, he turned it into another chapter of his never-ending show, where every controversy, every critic, every so-called downfall only feeds the legend he's still writing, one headline at a time. So, after all the shouting, the laughter, and the chaos, what did this moment really prove? Maybe it showed that no stage is too small for Trump, not even a comedy desk under bright studio lights. Maybe it proved that no matter how much people try to corner him, he always finds a way to flip the room. But maybe, just maybe, it revealed something bigger. That America isn't just watching Trump. America is Trump, divided, emotional, impossible to ignore. Love him or hate him, you can't look away. And that's exactly why he's still winning, not just in politics, but in the battle for attention, headlines, and control of the conversation. Because in the end, Trump doesn't just walk into the spotlight, he is the spotlight. And as long as the cameras keep rolling, he'll keep writing the next chapter, one controversy at a time.